I attended this year's PHOTOVOGUE festival and you won't believe what happened. On a Sunday evening, I decided to hop on the first tram. It was very busy and the atmosphere there when I arrived, it was very welcoming, so definitely worth it. I got in, and not gonna lie, I was late, but I managed to get in, and the talk was about the role of images and creativity in general, and storytelling. It was hosted by New Yorker artist Alfredo Jar.
This intervention tries to inform society of the daily situation of homeless people. A red flashlight will illuminate the cupola every time that someone like you will push this button. We want to be witnesses.
With these words, he was presenting Lumière dans la ville, his Montreal project, consisting of a system of red flash lights turning on each time a homeless person in Montreal joined a specific shelter. And in general, the blue cupola looming up in the dark symbolizes giving visibility, bringing social awareness to the issue. But it doesn't end here, because Chilean artist, architect, filmmaker and photographer Alfredo Jar is now showing his report of photography work of the Syrian civil war and showcasing displacement, bombing and killing of innocent people.
Until 6 months ago, there was still bombing in Syria. That is why people leave their countries. And we keep rejecting them. Where can they go?
Yeah, as you hear, sadly, the last pictures are from less than 6 months, and Alfredo stresses the urgency and the humanitarian crisis that still is in act. As he was speaking these harsh truths, a deafening silence fell in the conference room, and it suddenly and the whole room got very quiet. For the next story from photojournalist Niloufer Demir and the politics around this image and the media usage and newspapers that instrumentalize most of the time these pictures, issues and topics. For example, the independent cover is from the Alan Kurdi tragedy, shot by this famous Turkish photographer and photojournalist named Niloufer Demir. Watching and your attention, make sure to share it to a friend, and see you in the next part. You're probably familiar with this picture took by Niloufer Demir, a Turkish photojournalist.
The same day that this image by Alan Kurdi was published in the newspaper, on the same day of September.
And this was a little snippet from the Lectio Magistralis of Alfredo Jar, a very touching and moving presentation of his installations. And to be fair, pieces, works of art, because they examine and question the ethics of representation and the politics of images through a lens of economic crisis connected to migration and displacement, making Alfredo Jar a literal author of walking human rights campaigns as he consistently addresses these socio-political problems. Indeed, thanks to the help of Matti Vuori, human rights lawyer and former Greenpeace International president, he was able to showcase 1 million passports, Finnish passports, and this passport statement project, in a sense, represent all the minorities and residents of foreign descent in European countries that make up over 20% of the population in countries like Sweden, Denmark and Norway, and in the majority of European countries. Unfortunately, the local law enforcement made him burn all the evidence, so we do not longer have the access to his installation. But as he admitted, he was able to save 200 passports, but still doesn't know what to do with them. And he also tells us that he witnessed a man throwing his own passport over the high security glass as an act of solidarity to the cause. Then he talked about the European general tendency that we are still witnessing of becoming and instituting proper autocracies, moving from Sweden to Hungary, governed by Viktor Orban, who has been in power since April 2010, and other East European countries, but also Germany, Denmark, Holland and France, for example. But for this, since it's a political, wide, controversial topic, I redirect you to my page where I talk more about these topics and I write more in the form of short articles and essays. This next part is an exhibition curated by Francesco Marani and Alessia Glavino, the head of Global PHOTOVOGUE, who was deeply inspired by Alfredo Jar himself, since he is a humanitarian crisis advocate, and as he reminds in his Lectio Magistralis that the Rwandan genocide caused more than 800,000 deaths, and was caused by a UN-approved deployment of 2,500 French troops to the southwest area of Rwanda. This series of images stresses the actual dehumanizing and poor hospital conditions and the societal biases of choosing to be distracted, look away, instead of being an active critical thinker and responsible viewer. This is the final part of the review of the PHOTOVOGUE festival of this year, and it definitely reminded me of how observing is a way for me as an INTJ to take time to reflect, ponder on the ideas and concepts behind other photographers' works and paying close attention to the details of their collections. Being observant, as in sensing the environment around me, has always been a key trait of my personality, and it allows me to seek inspiration in other people's work. The exhibition was about the contradiction of overexposition, of actively choosing to show diversity and normalize it, as it will be shown in the next part of the exhibition, the pictures from Regarding the Pain of Others, from the first series by Adeolu Ozibodu, the Nigerian artist who curated the series Almost Home. But what I find extremely inspiring about this is the fact that we are disruptively opening the doors to accepting visible marks, conditions, scars, and also bringing in the conversation about what is not visible and mental health, and of what is deemed to be worthy of respect and dignity by society in the West. With these artists showcasing their work, we're making a huge step towards doing more than the bare minimum, or just accepting and tolerating the belief system or religious background of a classmate, for example, or not stare too long at people who are different to the norm, at people with different features, hair, deciding to cover the hair, or having a condition, disability, or someone being not neurotypical. Honestly, as children, we have all been taught to not stare too long at people who are visibly different to us and to the norm. But to be honest, I think we should do better and build connections and dig deeper into the meaning of our relations. All this is embodied, for example, in the work of Jamie Gale in his project titled On Being a Woman, completely free from roles and rules. But then two series in black and white. The first one on new masculinity, and then the ecclesiastical happenings one, whose description reads as ecclesiastical happenings is an act of decolonization and further exploration of contemporary religions amongst African diaspora. And this ends the next great fashion image makers selection of 40 artists from 24 different countries. Now on to the next part, web per PHOTOVOGUE. It hosted digitally 81st artists from all over the world. It was definitely the most groundbreaking and innovating part, as it showcases images projected on the screens. Definitely check the author of this last image. And In Nature was probably my favorite part. It also included Katerina Zhu, winner of the Upcycling Challenge collection One More Life, and I leave attached in the caption a video where I talk more about it, so that I can leave on screen these suggestions and book recommendations of photography titles. It also includes Alfredo Jar. In the part 1 I talked about this multidisciplinary author and architect and artist. This corner was dedicated to visual communication for change. A very touching exposition with zero to no visual material unless black and white text boards on socio-political humanitarian issues. This was the Italian Panorama corner. And to close the exhibition, we finally have some more black and white. I'm obsessed with black and white lately, and this series called The 5 Stages of Grief, I find it really brilliant. And there was also the photographer and model in the exhibition. I not only spotted a fellow photographer, but I also fanboyed over this corner of my favorite second generation Moroccan artist. Closing this fat long review, there is Face Forward Redefining the Vogue cover, a compilation of a collection of the most inclusive Vogue covers, and this is just some random footage of me showing you some Vogue magazine covers. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check out the Basi Milano Institute page